Welcome to Canton Fort, a channel focused on financial infrastructure, market structure, and how capital actually moves behind the scenes. This is not a hype channel, not a price prediction channel, and not a place for shortcuts. Here we break down how institutions, banks, and large capital interact with blockchain, settlement systems, and emerging financial networks. If you're looking to understand the real game rather than chase narratives, you're in the right place. The good news is that once you accept this reality, you don't have to fear it anymore. I'm extremely excited about 2026, not because I'm betting on some perfectly timed supercycle, but because my strategy doesn't require me to be right about direction. If I'm wrong, I'm protected. If I'm right, I'm positioned. That's the only framework that actually works in an environment this manipulated. I spend most of my time shorting, not because I hate crypto or believe the technology is useless, but because, statistically, engineered pumps fail far more often than they succeed. Roughly 75% of the time, the highest probability trade in this market is betting against emotional price expansion. That doesn't mean everyone should short, but it does mean everyone should understand how exits are created. Even if you never place a short trade in your life, recognizing these patterns helps you take profits instead of becoming someone else's exit liquidity. When a token suddenly doubles or triples, ask yourself a simple question: who benefits from holding here? Someone who put in $1,000 and doubled it might let it ride. Someone who put in $100,000 and doubled it almost certainly takes profit. Someone who put in millions doesn't have a choice. They must sell. That's why holding blindly without understanding liquidity and intent is one of the fastest ways to get wrecked in crypto. HODL forever. Sounds noble, but most of the time it's just a slogan that keeps retail money trapped while smarter capital rotates out. Markets don't reward loyalty, they reward awareness. Nothing in this video should be considered financial advice, investment advice, or a recommendation to buy or sell any asset. I am not a financial advisor, and this content is shared strictly for educational and informational purposes. This is also where most people get completely misled by technology narratives, especially when it comes to blockchains and ledgers. People talk endlessly about layer ones, tokens, and ecosystems, but almost no one takes the time to understand what a ledger actually is. Strip away the buzzwords, and a ledger is simply an accounting system. It records what comes in, what goes out, who owns what, and under what rules. Every serious financial institution on Earth uses ledgers. Every major blockchain has one. Every corporation relies on them internally. Some ledgers are simple and task-specific, others are programmable and complex. Ethereum's ledger, for example, is powerful because it supports smart contracts and a massive application ecosystem. That's why institutions trust it. Not because fees are low or because retail loves it, but because it's secure, flexible, and battle-tested. Other ledgers are more limited, built for narrow use cases, and that's fine. But none of this automatically translates into investment value. This is the part that makes people uncomfortable. Ledgers themselves are not inherently valuable as assets. They are infrastructure. They are software. Just like databases and servers, they exist to support systems, not to be worshipped. And when you look at who is actually using distributed ledger technology at scale, the picture becomes very clear. The largest corporations in the world, companies like Johnson & Johnson, UPS, Tesla, Alphabet, Meta, already use blockchain-based ledgers. Not publicly, not for speculation, not with tokens you can buy. They use them quietly, internally, as tools. Studies have shown that the top global companies rely on dozens of different distributed ledger technologies, many of which don't report usage, don't market themselves, and don't care whether retail investors know they exist. Hyperledger Fabric is one of the most commonly used. Ethereum-based enterprise systems are everywhere. R3's Corda operates deep inside financial institutions. The most important systems don't chase attention. They avoid it. That brings us to dominance. And this is where the conversation usually ends because the numbers make people uncomfortable. There is a distributed ledger that processes over $8 trillion per month. Not per year, per month. That ledger belongs to Broadridge, and it operates on the Canton network. This is why organizations like NASDAQ, the DTCC, and major clearing and settlement institutions chose Canton. Not because it's exciting, not because it has a cult following, but because it works within real regulatory and operational constraints. To put that in perspective, most popular blockchains process millions or billions. Ethereum processes tens of billions daily, which is massive, but Broadridge consistently clears trillions. That's not hype, that's plumbing. And you won't hear influencers talk about it because it doesn't fit the usual narratives that sell courses or tokens. This is also why most claims about a single blockchain taking over bank settlement are fundamentally flawed. Banks don't rip out infrastructure and replace it overnight. They integrate, layer, compartmentalize, and control. Finance is modular. There will never be one chain that replaces global finance. The most important systems prioritize privacy, compliance, and reliability, not decentralization theater. That's why many of the most powerful ledgers in the world have no tokens, don't appear on real-world asset dashboards, and don't report public metrics. Not because they're small, but because they're private by design. Value in this space doesn't accrue to the loudest tech. It accrues to the most integrated systems. Guys, 80% of people watching don't like or subscribe to the videos, so please take a second to hit that like button and subscribe. It really helps the channel grow. Going to 2026, my approach is simple and unapologetic. I assume manipulation. I assume narratives will shift. I assume goalposts will move. People have been calling altcoin season for years, and I stopped waiting. I short emotional pumps, I swing trade volatility, and I selectively stack only what aligns with real financial infrastructure. I don't marry positions, I don't defend bags, and I don't confuse belief with strategy. Right now, the only network I'm meaningfully accumulating long-term is Canton, because it sits at the intersection of institutional finance and blockchain infrastructure. Everything else is a trade, not a conviction. So if you zoom out and take the emotion out of it, the picture becomes clear. Crypto is heavily manipulated, especially on the upside. Most pumps are exits, not beginnings. Shorting isn't evil, it's probability. Ledgers are infrastructure, not magic. Most powerful systems don't have tokens. Real finance moves quietly. And 2026 isn't about hype or waiting for permission. It's about positioning yourself so that no matter what the market does, you're not the one being used as liquidity. If I'm wrong, I'm fine. If I'm right,